Hello everyone. Today's video lesson is on calculations with scientific notation, and in this case I'm going to be using the TI30 calculator, but if you have a different one, that's fine. So pause the video and go get a calculator and a paper and pen for some notes, and come back and join me. Welcome back. So now we're going to learn first how to put a scientific notation number into your calculator. So scientific notation number looks like this, where there's a decimal, and before the decimal there's a number between 1 and 9, and then there's also a times 10 to some power. Now there's several ways you actually can enter this into your calculator, but the best way to avoid mistakes is to use the EE button. And that button helps to keep the number together, as opposed to splitting this number up and having the 3.2 separate from the 10 to the 5th power. So it will keep it as one number. And we'll see later on why that's important. So go ahead, and if you have a TI30, it will look like this. If not, try to find the EE button on the calculator. On the TI30 number, it's right here above the x to the -1. And it's in a number above that. So that means you have to push the second key and then this key to get the EE button. Now be careful and not use the E button, the small letter E, because that's a whole different thing. So you want to find the EE button on your calculator. So let's put 3.2 times 10 to the 5th into our calculators. So you're going to press these numbers in this order. You're going to press the number 3, the period or the dots, the decimal, and the 2, and then you're going to push the second button, if you're using the TI30, the EE button, and then the 5. So that reads 3.2, and the second EE takes the place of the times 10 to the, and the 5 is this exponent right here. So 3.2 second EE5 gives you 3.2 times 10 to the 5th. So go ahead and do that on your calculator and see what you get. Did it look like this? Here it is, 3.2 e to the 5. And notice, even though the button says EE, when it's displayed on your calculator, it just has a single capital E on the display. So hopefully you got that. Now, we're going to do some problems that involve scientific notation. So not just putting the number in, but doing some math with that number. So go ahead and put the following numbers in your calculator using the EE button. So you're going to put 4.2 times 10 to the 3rd, but you're going to use the EE button. And then you're going to divide it by 2.7 times 10 to the 9th. And let's see what you come up with. Did it look like this? My calculator reads 1.55555, it's a lot of 5s, and the 6 times 10 to the -06. That's what it reads right here. Soon we're going to learn that we're not going to report all these digits because they're not all significant. But for right now, you can write them down, or if I tell you to put them to a certain place, put that to a certain place. And notice also it says 10 to the -06. That 0 is not necessary. You don't have to put that in. When you report a number, you are not a calculator. So if the answer on your calculator has the E symbol on it, like 6.88 e to the 7th, when you write it in a report, you don't write 6.88 e to the 7th. You put it in scientific notation again, and you would report it as 6.88 times 10 to the 7th. So now we're going to try a little bit more difficult problem just because it has more numbers. So it's 4.5 times 10 to the 2nd times 6.11 times 10 to the -4th divided by 3.8 times 10 to the 5th times 8.2 times 10 to the 6th. Now I told you before you don't need to use parentheses because it keeps a scientific notation together. However, notice on the denominator, which is the bottom of this fraction, there are 2 numbers. And if we're going to divide by that, we're going to have to either put this in parentheses. So put 3.8 times 10 to the 5th times 8.2 times 10 to the 6th, in parentheses like this when you divide it, or I prefer to do it this way. You get to choose. I'm going to divide it twice. So I'm going to put in these first two numbers and multiply them. Then I'm going to divide it by 3.8 times 10 to the 5th. And then I'm going to divide it again by 8.2 times 10 to the 6th. So you basically have two choices. You can put this bottom in parentheses before you divide it, or you can divide it twice. Divide it by 3.8 times 10 to the 5th, and then divide it by 8.2 times 10 to the 6th. So put this in your calculator, and we'll see if you get the right number. Did you get this? 8.82381258 times 10 to the negative 14th. That's a lot of digits, so we're going to just report this to two significant figures, and we get 8.8 times 10 to the negative 14th. So hopefully you got the right answer. If you didn't, email me and I can help you out. So thanks for listening.